Hi, everyone. Today we have a great guest. His name's ELD Trades. He's on YouTube and Twitter, and he's going to walk us through some of the charts that are happening in crypto and stock market. How are you, ELD?
I'm good. How are you, Darren?
I'm doing well. What do you see going on with Bitcoin?
Well, I'm a technical analyst at heart. And what I'll do is I'll take us through high time frame, medium time frame, and low time frame for the show. What I see right now on the high time frame, which is the weekly, is very good. We just had a bullish weekly close, right? These two candlesticks, they are a tweezer bottom candlestick pattern. And the fact that the bullish one, the orange one, closed above the last candlestick's body, many people would call that a bullish engulfing. That's a good thing. This indicates that the trend from here will continue being bullish. It also tells us that it's unlikely that we fall below 45K again, which is the bottom of the tweezer candlesticks. Now, I usually say, I don't mind if we revisit 42K. I don't even mind if we go to 40K, as long as we make good things like any other bullish indicators. I do get very worried if we cut 40K because there is no high time frame support until at least 30K. In saying all this, the weekly close is very beautiful. And what I'll do is I'll move on to the daily and a lower time frame. Just jump straight into it. I don't care. Now, this may look like a bunch of mumbo jumbo to you guys, but basically, on the lower time frame, we can see that the price action is rounding. It's showing accumulation. It's doing this above the 200-day moving average. That's very good. Now, it has hit local resistance, and that's why it's going sideways. And most likely, it will continue to go sideways for a while. There is Christmas. There is, there was a bunch of FUD, like Omicron and, tapering. So, of course, we're going to go sideways. But the main thing is, at least on the daily and on the 4 hours, is that since we broke out of the descending wedge, we have targeted 53K. Now, 53K, why is that important? It's because it's a very, very strong resistance area. And once we reach it, which it's likely, that's what the charts are telling us, we will probably hit a lot of turbulence. So that's more of the short time frame. If you want to go really short time frame, I don't know if you guys know what this is, but basically we just made a higher low with hidden bullish divergence, which should definitely carry us to 53K. So that's my BTC analysis. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer.
So you mentioned rounded bottoms, right? But if we zoom out on Bitcoin and we're on like the daily right now, if we go to the daily and look at Bitcoin, I notice there's like these two pumps start getting rounded on the top. Does that concern you at all?
Do you mean like this pump?
No, back after we went from 30,000, this first pump that pumped and it started rounding, then we made a second pump that started rounding. Does that tell you anything, or is that just?
Oh, so you're saying like this and like this?
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it's like kind of.
So many people say that this could be a recreation of what happened here. This was just flat out Wyckoff distribution. Many of us saw it. Many of us were worried about it. That's why I say, if we cut 40K, then you will initiate the full distribution. Whereas you lose support and then your next support is pretty much 30,000. That's why I have a plan to cut below, 39K. The thing is, the overall chart, when you go weekly, which is more important than the daily, the candlesticks are beautiful. The fact that we even reclaimed the 200-day moving average, that's beautiful, because the 200-day moving average is by far the most consistently accurate moving average of crypto, right? So we can deduce that it's more likely that we'll just continue this bullish activity, especially from the weekly close. So
So I've heard some people say that Bitcoin had like a double top pattern, and like you're showing on the weekly and the monthly, we've actually gone past that previous top. So is that invalidated now? Is that just TA guys kind of just
Look, Bitcoin, like it's a big chart, and the double tops don't have to be the exact same resistance. It's rare you get that. I do understand their concerns. The thing is, and it's very weird. You only confirm a double top when you break the support that created the last top. So pretty much only when you break 30K, that's when you confirm the double top. So I'm not concerned until we get near there. I would also add that Bitcoin has never topped on a double top. It's also has never topped when the sentiment was fearful. If you look at the sentiment, whether it's on chain, which I can show another time, whether it's just fear and greed sentiment, it's mostly fear. And the thing is about this run, it went insane in 2020. And this is the first consolidation. This is the first big consolidation of the 2020 run. This has to happen. It's healthy. Also, not only has Bitcoin never double topped as its actual top, but it's never only had one consolidation before a bear market. Usually it at least has on the weekly 2 to 3 legs before it goes into a bear market. So when it comes to that being a top, unlikely.
Okay. So do you subscribe to the idea of an alt season for what's happening? Bitcoin dumps and then the alts start pumping. Is that a thing that seems realistic?
To do that, best thing we can do, we can go to total 2. Basically, this chart, total 2, get rid of some stuff, clean it up. This chart is the whole crypto market cap minus Bitcoin. So it's pretty much the chart of the altcoins. And if you go on the weekly, basically what we see, we have to go logarithmic scale because it is a logarithmic chart. What we see is a massive repetition of 2016, where you broke out of a descending triangle, 2014, same as you did here in 2020. You went for a massive parabolic run. It got way too big. And then you started consolidating for a couple of months into the 200-day moving average. Same thing here. You broke out of the descending triangle, you ran hard, and you went sideways into the 200-day. And the exact same thing happened where you pumped really hard, and then you kept going sideways. The good thing is, look at this. This is very interesting. I'll just delete some stuff. You have recently, I say recently, but it was November 29th, back tested the 200 again with a higher low. When the structure is continuously higher high, higher lows, above the 200-day, there's no bearish signs on many indicators. That indicates that a bullish continuation is very likely. Now, when it comes to like just strict TA, what we have here is pretty much an ascending triangle that had a fake out. And then Omicron hit, tapering news hit, whatever. So it dumped back in. But the ascending triangle is still valid. And I believe, along with many, many other reasons, that when this breaks out, which is very close, it will go into a massive rally. Thing is, I'm not exactly certain, and no one is, if it's going to be an alt rally, like if it's going to be alts pumping and Bitcoin going down. After this, I'll show you Bitcoin dominance and we can maybe get a better picture of it. But basically, in conclusion, the altcoin market is very bullish. I mean, I'm probably understating it, but it's very bullish.
Okay, so there's no bearish indicators at all. It's just looking like it's just continuing its run, and I see that it's holding up the 200 SMA, and it's kind of following everything, and then an ascending triangle. Right, the target should be the size of the base, so that would bring us pretty high if it hits that target too. So but also with the combination of Bitcoin looking bullish, so do you think since 2016 there is a lot less lot less volume, a lot less money, just liquidity in general. Do you think this pump could be much more mild than the previous pump, just from the amount of money that's in crypto now?
It is certain that the gains will be much less. Most of the gains have been already made in 2020, mostly from the original DeFi coins. Now, there's going to be new concepts. There's going to be DeFi 3. You've probably already seen some. There's going to be a lot of focus on ecosystems, FTM ecosystem, Luna ecosystem, maybe even Solana and AVAX will continue. They probably will. That's going to be the main focus. There is, however, a big chance, and this historically happens a lot, where the altcoins such as Litecoin and XRP out of nowhere have a massive explosion, and then they lead an alt rally and maybe an alt season. This is just historically what happens. It's very likely that it will happen again. But yeah, that's the fact that the crypto market is already, let's see right now in total, the crypto market is already $2.4 trillion. It's going to take a lot more capital than it did until now to get the same gains. It is really good that institutions are coming in. That could help us a lot. But the 2016, 2017, and even 2020 days of gains, that's over, unfortunately.
Yeah. So with just money printing and the DXY, people have linked Bitcoin to the DXY, and they've often said that, when the DXY dumps, Bitcoin pumps, and recently we've kind of proven the opposite. So do you think that we'll get back to that same narrative when DXY starts dropping again? I know the ECB is raising interest rates, so the euro should get stronger, and everything relative to the dollar should be getting stronger, which would make this chart start dumping again. Do you think that will play into Bitcoin pumping?
See, that's a hard one, because this caught me off guard. When the DXY double bottomed at strong support, I de-risked a ton from crypto, because until now, it's been one of my leading indicators of whether we're going into a bear market. Now, I went risk back on when I realized that, like you said, they were starting to be correlated. So, Bitcoin, crypto, they were running with the DXY. Of course, mostly due to the money printing. Whether they're going to decouple and return to the old ways, whether the euro and everything will start to outperform the DXY, I would have to check the euro USD chart. The DXY on its own right now, it's still bullish. Basically, what you have here is what you had back in 2018. Rounded double bottom pretty much. Almost, there is a bunch of resistance in this whole area from 96 to all the way to 102. So it's probably just going to chop sideways, maybe even return to test the support of 94. But overall, especially on the weekly, this is just a bullish continuation of what it's always been. You also have to remember that even though the US has gone pretty crazy with printing, the world still sees the USD as a safe haven. People look to what just happened in Turkey with the lira, right? People look to how the world is locking up. Unlike, at least half the states is still relatively economically moving. Look at my country, Australia. We locked up the whole country for over a year. So at the end of the day, even while the US is printing a ton, the US dollar is still the safe haven. And that's why we're seeing a massive flock into it. I think this will continue. I don't think that this will suddenly have a big change. The US dollar will continue to prove itself strong. And I think crypto will pump alongside it.
So the dollar can also get stronger if all assets sell off, right? If we have a deflationary event, sort of like we had with the lockdowns. If we have another lockdown, do you think that that assets are going to sell off like that? Australia had lockdowns, so the Australian market sell off.
Yes, yeah, the Australian market had a massive sell-off. Granted, the Australian market is more dividend-based. So if, for example, I'll show you quickly. So our version of the SPX is called the AU 200. It's our top 200 companies. Basically, this is what happened straight after the news of Corona. Same thing as has SPX. We went from 7,000 to 4,000, so about a 40% drop. But my main point is this: we only just recovered from, the 2008 global financial crisis. Based on our stocks, we literally only just broke that all-time high recently. The SPX is much more bullish than the ASX, which is our one. But yeah, we had a massive drop off. We're also a tourism country, so our airlines and everything to do with hospitality, they got destroyed. What's happening now is what the whole world is doing. We printed so much money that it had a massive V recovery. Yeah, it's unhealthy, and it's going to prove that it's going to make the next crash very harsh, but it is what it is. And as people who try to make money, we have to follow the printer. That's what I would say.
Okay. Well, I meant the recent Australian lockdowns, right? So I saw a bunch of news. I see the huge drop that we've also had, but was there a huge drop with the recent lockdowns that you had?
Oh, no. See, I think it's priced in. At this point, first of all, most world markets follow the SPX. Most world markets follow the US. So, anything can happen in Australia individually. It might be bad for individual stocks, but we still follow the SPX. Our stock market still is highly correlated to it. And if the SPX recover, we recover, no matter what we really do. The recent lockdowns, we got to a point where we stabilized the economy by mostly working from home and doing it pretty well. So we haven't seen a massive drop off. In fact, the chart is bullish. And that kind of shows you that the printer and the fact that we're correlated to the US, for example, is actually a stronger indicator of the future than what we're individually doing in our own country.
Okay. That's interesting. Then it's so correlated. So you said the SPY is also bullish. Is there anything that we should be concerned with, or is there any bearish types of patterns, even though it looks bullish?
So first of all, there is the obvious concern of, we went from the SPX at least went from 2,200 to what it is now, which is 4,700 in about a bit above a year. That is insanely risky. Obviously, we know it's because the money printing, but it's nonetheless, it's still extremely risky. When this wants to correct, and it has to, if you look at the history of the SPX, it loves to return to the 200-day moving average. Sometimes it even returns to the 200-day weekly, but it's more rare. But the point is, I'll get rid of this stuff for now so you can see it more clear. The point is, you're at the highest range you've ever been. You're nearly at all-time high, at least on the high time frame, you're at all-time high. And this will eventually choose to correct back to the 200-day. If you look at the indicators, there is some weekly bearish divergence, but because it's the SPX, it always has bearish divergence on the high time frame because it always goes up. But yeah, this is very risky. It's starting to trend more and more curvy sideways, which is not good. And we can definitely expect a little sell-off event, not like this, but at least like these, that return to the 200-day and then go back up. Now, of course, when it comes to the fundamentals, there is always the risk of hiking rates. They're going to have to do it. And even if they don't do it, they're going to have to talk about doing it. So it's definitely not the best time. It's definitely not early to enter stocks, commodities, or crypto. But I do not believe that we're close to the top yet.
Okay. So you think it'll touch the 200 SMA and then move up higher after at least tags it moves up.
Yeah. The problem is, though, if it does touch the 200 SMA in the upcoming weeks or month, that's a pretty big drop. If SPX goes from 4,700 all the way to 4,300, crypto will probably also take a hit.
Okay. And if so I assume if we go under the 200 SMA and use it as resistance, then that's the really bad sign, right? And we would have to head further down. So that's the case.
Yeah. So if you look at the history, every time the SPX cuts and closes the weekly candle below the 200 SMA, and then the next candle also closes below it, or even worse, it starts to consolidate out under it, it is almost always followed by a continuation to the downside. That's just a little trick that if you want to, if you trade stocks or whatever, or if you just want to know if there's at least a small global financial crisis or a small event like a black swan event coming, then you just follow the SMA. It's a very good strategy.
Okay. So what are your thoughts on the XRP chart?
So XRP, actually, I'll get a different chart that's more clean than this. I was just doing some trading on it recently. Clean this up. Basically, XRP, overall, weekly, very bullish. Unfortunately, one of the worst performing crypto alts in the categories of a dino coin, because it is one of the oldest coins. It hasn't underperformed that badly. I mean, if you look at Litecoin and some of the others, they've pretty much done the same thing. But I know there is fundamentals reason for that. I know that they have some kind of lawsuit, and you'll probably tell me about that. But overall, the weekly chart is very bullish. It's just one massive accumulation since 2018. And I believe that if we get the alt run that we are supposed to get, that XRP not only goes back to all-time high, which is $3.48 in this chart, but way above that. I also believe that if you look at a history of XRP, it likes to randomly, out of nowhere, explode. It doesn't follow the crypto market. It's very weird. It goes sideways. And I've been in this since 2016, so I've seen it. It goes sideways, and then it just randomly explodes. And I believe in 2022, that's what it's going to do.
Okay. Yeah, the SEC case is, it's been going on since December. And recently we had a lawyer from the XRP community, John Deaton, start doing interviews, and there's more and more articles being published about some of the corruption that's going on with the SEC. So they, in my mind, they look really bad. And then on top of it, everyone that's reading the articles are all reading the same thing. And then there's Ripple hired a lobbying group. So we're seeing a lot of U.S. politicians question Gary Gensler when he's on congressional hearings. So there's a lot of pressure towards the SEC, which, doesn't really seem beneficial for them to just continue carrying this on. It seems more beneficial to me, at least from my perspective, for them to find some type of settlement or common ground. So it looks
they really
good.
picked on XRP. I got to be honest. It was because of it trading as a security in 2013, right? Was that the reason?
Yeah, they said that, they're saying that the escrow and the way they've gone about it is XRP is an investment contract with everyone. And what the lawyer from the XRP community is trying to say is, people use XRP for other businesses. There's businesses that use it to send Bitcoin. There's businesses that do things with the XRP ledger. And everybody that owns XRP doesn't own a security, but the SEC is making that a reality, saying that every retail investor that owns XRP is locked into a contract with Ripple. And I mean, they could have argued just the part where Ripple sells XRP, that's an investment contract, but they chose to grab retail and suck them in, so retail loses out too. So the way they're going about it, and then they're not budging from it. So the lawyer's given them quite options to get out of it. Say this is just between Ripple and the institutions that buy XRP from Ripple, and not retail investors, and they're continuing to go forward with it. So that just also adds a lot of bad publicity on their part. If they're supposed to be working for the people and they're hurting retail investors, they just look worse and worse. Forbes picks up articles, everyone's picking up articles on it. So it looks like a lot of pressure is being put on them to
Yeah, go on.
So it's if there is that much pressure on them, right? It seems likely to me that there'll be a settlement at one point. And since they never said retail was different, just that news, I think, could be a catalyst for something good for XRP's charges, saying that, we're going to drop the lawsuit against the retail part of this and just go after Ripple. Just something small like that can change the whole mindset of everyone in crypto. And I think that's a potential catalyst for everything that's going on.
Well, the interesting thing is, and I do like this about XRP, there is obviously someone buying it to make it look as bullish as it is, even though I am almost certain that at least after 2020, XRP didn't get that much retail action. And that's pretty obvious, not just from the charts, but because people who came into crypto after, 2017, and especially after 2019, the first thing that they saw was like the new DeFi coins. They saw the meme coins. They saw all this stupid stuff that it's going to die, and they don't know about XRP. So someone is definitely buying, and my hypothesis is that it's mostly smart money who know that something is coming. If I have a good following on Twitter, I have a good Discord, we have a good community. I don't know anyone that's buying XRP, and that's actually a good thing because obviously someone smart is.
Yeah, you want to do the opposite of what everyone else is doing, right? What the herd is doing. And then just what we were saying before with Bitcoin's chart, it's kind of like a cup, right? So does that mean that people are accumulating the bottoms, right?
Yeah, and furthermore, if you look at the on-chain data, I'm not going to pull it up now, but basically when we were at about 30K, the massive dip, and then when we got to 42K, the second dip, you can see from the on-chain data, it's really interesting. It always happens. The massive original whales who have been holding Bitcoin for years, the ones that always win, the one that always stay in the market long term, they bought a lot in around 30K, and they bought a lot around 42K and 43. But at the same time, retail people who just came in to the market recently, who don't hold much Bitcoin, they have been selling all the way to 42K. And that shows that smart money is accumulating. People who have consistently won in the market are accumulating, and people who usually lose, which is retail, they actually sold. So if you're buying Bitcoin around the 42, 43, even 45K area, you're actually on the smart money side. If you're selling it there, you're on the dumb money side. And probably the same thing with XRP.
Yeah, I've been seeing a lot of I follow whale alerts on Twitter. I've been seeing a lot of huge transactions happening with some of the whales, and just they just keep accumulating. So on December 17th, that's where the lawsuit took place, and that's where that huge red candle came, or black candle came out of nowhere. Do you think that affects the whole price or the whole run of XRP, or is everything supposed to be where it's supposed to be?
Look, when it comes to a fundamental black swan event, because I don't follow the fundamentals of XRP, but when it comes to those events, they can definitely screw up the chart. You can tell that this is the drop, yeah. So you can tell that straight after it very quickly recovered. That shows you that even with the bad news that you had with the SEC, at least enough like money and people were confident about it that it instantly didn't just retrace to where it was before, but it retraced to $2, which is a lot of confidence. Now, granted, the whole crypto market ran really hard at the same time. So it was just, maybe it was a correlated event. I would have definitely liked the chart to, instead of have that news piece come out, to just continue and look more smooth and symmetrical. But nonetheless, you recovered very quickly. The chart's nice. The only thing that I was actually be worried about isn't that event. It's actually recently just the lower highs. So you got a high from April 2021. Then you got this lower high August, and then you got a lower high in November. That's not really a good thing. You also have a high lows, so it's kind of like balanced out. I do have a fractal here that shows that if you do keep getting rejected by the 200-day, you're most likely to just bleed to about 60 cents and then have the massive run. That's just a historical fractal that I found. But yeah, about this event here, it instantly recovered. I wouldn't be so worried about it.
Okay. Yeah, and the fractal was back in 2017. It's the same fractal as 2017.
Yes.
Okay. And all right. So what are your thoughts on quant?
Quant?
Yeah, QNT.
Is that? I'll try to find a good chart of it.
There might on the exchanges there's the charts don't have a lot of data. If you want like one with a real lot of data, you'd have to go on DEX tools for it. But
this is fine. This is enough. Okay. So basically, with quant, I know that it's a good coin. I have a lot of smart buddies in the industry who just keep stacking it. I don't really know why. I don't know much about it. Basically, I don't know if you guys know this, but when quant hit $147, I was streaming and we found a harmonic pattern at support. And that's a very bullish thing. It's very likely because the harmonic is pretty much the whole chart, at least the one that's visible here. It's pretty likely that 147 was the bottom. Very unlikely that you go below that, just based on the very strong support and the harmonic. And also based on what we saw with Total 2 and BTC, which are also likely to continue, I don't think quant goes below 147. That's just what the TA says. In the future of it, because I don't have a big chart, maybe I'll find one another day. I'm not too sure fundamental wise. I'll have to ask some people, maybe if you can tell me something. But it's obvious from the TA that 147 was probably the bottom.
Yeah, quant does. They're doing off-chain smart contracts, right? So they have something called the Overledger network, which is just an interoperability coin, and it's interoperability platform, and the partnerships and just some of the documents they've been mentioned in, like Saya, it's like Italy's payment infrastructure. They have these enormous connections to like central bankers and banks, and there's a lot of connection there. But it's basically an interoperability standard, and on top of it, the tokenomics are really favorable. I think there's 18 million tokens, but don't quote me on that. I think there's 18 million tokens, and to use the Overledger network, I need to buy quant to use the Overledger network, and there's it's a useful network for interoperability. So there's a lot of people that are interested in it. I own some, so it's a pretty decent coin.
Yeah. It sounds good. Yeah, no, this is definitely good timing. The rounding, the support, it could definitely return to like 150 area. It's unlikely it goes below 147. So you're pretty safe.
Yeah. And I think at one point the utility will come with it where they just keep locking up the tokens, and then the supply gets just cut, just keeps getting cut. So that's the long-term vision for quant. Shorter term, it's nice to see. Some of the other points. Sorry.
No. I'm just agreeing.
Okay. Can you take a look at XDC?
Sure. So XDC, I don't know much about it as well. Let's see it in log. Okay, that's very weird. So I was about to say that from a first glance, the structure is not nice. Basically, while everything in crypto, or at least the good coins, are rounding and showing signs of bottoming, XDC is just making lower lows and lower highs, at least since August. Now, it looks like to me like you had a massive pump from 0.066 to 0.098, but you attempted to, get back to the 200-day SMA, and you got rejected with a pretty ugly inverse hangman candlestick. Since then, you're just going sideways. This is a bull flag, so it's more likely that you're just going to retest the 200-day. If I wanted this coin for fundamental reasons, I would only touch it if it goes back above it. And if it makes higher lows, higher highs. It just hasn't proved that it's doing that yet. It's stuck below this daily resistance of 0.084. So until you at least, break 0.099 and the 200-day, and you start printing higher lows, higher highs, so accumulation, I wouldn't like it. Now, in saying that, this is a very, very strange coin because it's really not following the market. It's definitely a bull trend, and it has shown to cut the 200-day before and quickly recover. You can see it here in March, you can see it here in January, and now it's doing it again. So if you really want XDC, wait for it to show some accumulation. Unfortunately, if it keeps going this way, if it doesn't recover soon, this is rounding. This is kind of distribution. And, if it keeps rejecting the 200-day, then it might just fall to 0.065. And if it cuts that, it might fall to 0.045. So that's the bear scenario. It's unlikely with the market conditions, but that's definitely something to watch out for. So, yeah.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on Algorand?
I do like Algorand. I have a pretty big bag, so hopefully it's good. All right, let's see. Let's get out of log. So basically, Algorand pretty much following the rest of the market, respected the 200-day, made a high low confirmed, pretty much near a heavy supply area, which acts as resistance. So anything that's about near the $1.50, $1.60 area, that's just going to be a lot of resistance. And you're most likely just going to bounce back down, maybe make another higher low and continue. The whole structure is just, you got a high, you got a low. Higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, bullish trend. Just a simple bullish trend. If the only way to break it is to make a lower low than 0.69. So it's very safe. It's definitely fundamentally a very good coin with a very good team. And I believe that it will do very well in the upcoming run. Short time frame, you're at resistance. So there's no reason to buy.
So this last pump that happened, during that time, there was a smart contract that diluted the supply of Algorand. So they had a large amount of algo that the algo foundation was in escrow or something. But when that pump happened, the tokenomics became much more favorable. And that has been the criticism since the beginning of Algorand, is the tokenomics were unfair and all that. Everyone was against Algorand for that reason. So with this pump, it changed the tokenomics, and now they're also doing Algorand governance, where instead of just proof of stake you lock up your tokens for months. So there's a lot of Algorand investors that are locked into a certain amount of months where they have to vote on governance. So a lot of the supply gets locked, a lot of the tokens are out already, and there's this nice setup as far as the tokenomics are concerned. So
Yeah, and the cool thing is about ALGO is it's pretty much one of the first DeFi coins. In a sense, the whole thing of lending and borrowing, it was the one with the crazy idea in 2017. It was, right? 2017? Well, not this chart, but I'm pretty sure 2018, 2017, Algorand was already offering lending, borrowing and staking, which was very new. And they have continuously innovated with DeFi. And I do believe that another DeFi run is coming. For example, if you go to DeFi Ethereum, which is the DeFi to Ethereum ratio, the whole chart has been bullish since its creation. We'll go log actually. Since its creation in 2017, this whole chart has been bullish. Now it's continuously looking better. So I think DeFi, especially the original ones like Sushi, Aave, and all them, they will do very well. And ALGO, which has proven to be a very successful one, and not just the DeFi, but many other things, will probably follow that genre and will continue to do very well.
So this is all of DeFi's market cap in this chart, and it's just going, from left to right upwards, right? And then we've been consolidating for a pretty long time. So that's why you're thinking DeFi looks like it's going to pump just from.
Well, it's actually much better than that. It's not the DeFi chart; it's the DeFi to Ethereum chart, and okay. Ethereum on its own is very bullish. So if the DeFi to Ethereum chart is bullish, it means that DeFi is double bullish. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. So it's paired against a bullish asset, and both are looking bullish. So DeFi should also play out, and it would make sense. I mean, if your bank's giving you 0.01% interest, and you could take USDC and earn 20% on it's a random DeFi platform. Why wouldn't people want to get into something where they can actually earn a yield on their tokens?
Yeah, and on that note, currently I'm the treasury manager for a hedge fund that does exactly that. We take people's investment and we just farm it and stake it with stable coins, and we return them well over 40% a year and safely. So traditional finance people haven't figured this out yet. They will soon, and they'll flock towards us. But you're correct. Just staking your stable coins on DeFi, it can bring you well over 10%, 15%, which is already much better returns than even the SPX, which is considered, the best risk to reward asset out there. So, yeah, I mean, crypto is just going to take over. DeFi is going to take over.
So did you see any of the news in Australia where they're talking about regulations for crypto and the central bank digital currency? Are you seeing anything transpire from that, or is it just kind of like hot air?
Look, even if Australia had a lot of regulations on crypto, it wouldn't do anything to the charts. I mean, we're probably like 0.001% of the volume of crypto as a country. It is cool to see that they are really concentrating on Bitcoin lately in Australia, and we're not known as a progressively technologically advanced country. We're usually very late to these parties, so it's very interesting that the banks are now focusing on Bitcoin. I lean most likely to the fact that they're scared and that they want to tax it, and that they want to make sure that the exchanges are all heavily regulated, because while we're not a very progressive tech country, we're definitely a very highly regulated country, and our governments hate to have something that they don't have control over. So that is the reason that I think that our governments are now focusing very heavily on crypto. Even in saying that, though, it's pretty bullish, because it just shows that a country for once is recognizing it as something that's going to be very, very very useful for the future and something that they don't want to disregard. So that's my thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think it's a bullish scenario. I mean, it's probably bearish for a lot of coins, right? But for the ones that survive regulations, I think it's extremely bullish for. And then there's fresh capital that would be interested in investing in some of the coins that, you know, are regulated and up to standards where you can actually invest and safely invest. So I think, you know, eventually it's going to be good. I mean, it's probably not going to be good for some of the meme coins and some of like the, you know, super high risk coins, but the ones that can get on board with the regulations, I see that as an immense opportunity. So let's, I mean, that's
let's just say it's not good for my taxes.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but I actually have a recording of, I forget his name, but he was saying that they're trying to change the regulations for capital gains more and more favorable for everybody, but we'll believe it when we see it. I think
in Australia.
Yeah, in Australia. I'll send you the clip afterwards. It's he says that they're trying to change capital gains taxes for crypto, and I think that has to do with like utilizing crypto. You wouldn't have to pay if you just like use something like a coin or something. I'll send you the clip afterwards.
Look, I'll be very happy if they reduce the capital gains tax. It's currently sitting at 50%. So,
yeah, that's absurd. I mean, the U.S. different brackets, but it goes all the way up to 50%. I think 35 to 50%. You know, depending on how much you make.
I'm pretty sure if you sell under a year in Australia, especially crypto, because they really don't like it, it's mostly 50%. Now, if you own a business like me, you can reduce it. But at the end of the day, it's more than 30%. So it's ridiculous. And if they don't lower it, they're going to chase people like me out of the country. People who actually want to bring crypto, which is good for the economy. So if they have any sense, they will lower it.
I mean, you have to get really good at trading, right? If they're taking half of it away, you have to really... you know,
yeah,
really
well,
good if you're bad at it. It's not.
it's already so hard to make money as a trader, right? Only like 5% consistently win, and then they want to take 50% of the profit, but they're not going to give you the money back for your losses.
Yeah.
So being a trader in Australia is one of the worst decisions that you can do.
Right. Well, you have to get really good at it, right? So it's at least there was a motivation to get really good at trading. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on gold and like the whole gold narrative, if you think that'll actually play out.
The whole what, sorry?
Gold narrative that, you know, there's the Bitcoin gold conflict, and then is gold truly an inflation hedge? Do you think with if we're at 8% CPI in the US and it really hasn't moved, what are your thoughts on gold?
So basically, I've been monitoring gold for a long time. I personally use it to hedge against inflation, especially before I was, hooked on Bitcoin. Now, high time frame chart right now, it's beautiful. Basically, what's happening is you've been slowly making higher lows above the 2011 extremely strong support, which was resistance before. I mean, I'm talking about like 1, 2, 3 weekly, what is this? Yeah, it's like a year support. So now you're above it. You're also above the 200-day. You're kind of starting to round. I'll actually draw it out for you. So you're starting to actually round, which is showing more accumulation. If gold just continues this way and breaks at least 1.8K, then it will usher in not just a higher low, but a higher high. And that will really prove in massive accumulation. I'm extremely bullish on gold. I'm not going to say that BTC will steal gold's capital just yet. I think it will in the future, but you're not going to start convincing the boomers and even most Generation X's that they should switch their Bitcoin for gold. And you're definitely not going, sorry, their gold for Bitcoin. And you're definitely not going to persuade the old institutions and the banks to do the same. What you will start seeing is maybe some higher risk hedge funds, which you're already seeing that, and maybe even the big banks like JP Morgan, they will start to introduce more and more Bitcoin incentives. And I believe it will get to a point where even your 401ks and pension and all that, they will even have an option to have like 1%, maybe even more allocation in Bitcoin. So yeah, I don't think they're going to conflict that much. I actually think they're both bullish. And, the world is going into a very strange time. So we have Russia and Ukraine. We have China and Taiwan. We have the insane printing. We have divisions everywhere between politics, different political sides. So there is a reason why stuff like silver, gold, and even Bitcoin are looking great. And, the world is hedging up. That's just the truth.
Yeah, and a lot of the central banks are accumulating gold. Like Russia is accumulating gold. And then also when I hear that debate between Schiff and Pomp, right, they're always, it's like this binary outcome. But if we look at like Venezuela, we look at some of these countries that hyperinflate, the citizens are using both. They're not exclusive to one or the other. They don't care what they have. In Turkey, I'm sure it's the same way right now. They just want out of the lira and they're willing to take whatever.
Exactly.
Whatever.
And the thing is, even if I was in Venezuela a year ago, and all my money was in what do they have, Venezuelan peso or something? I don't know what the money is, but even if I was there and I knew what Bitcoin was and I knew how good it was as a hedge, I would probably still buy gold because I wouldn't be able to afford the volatility. You know what I mean? For example, your currency is crashing. You want something that doesn't move. I would probably buy USD and gold before I'd buy Bitcoin. If I want to buy my family some food next week, I don't want something that can move up and down 20% in a week. So people are still more likely to buy the USD and gold when they need to get the hell out of their country and their inflation way before they'll buy Bitcoin. And that's even people like me who know how good it is. So it's going to take a long time before they start Bitcoin starts stealing the capitals of these big monsters,
Yeah, if it ever happens, and if we would have to see like central banks, I think, start adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. We'd have to see some huge things like that, and then at that point, like you're saying, it's the market cap's going to be exponential, where we're not going to see like any volatility. It's going to be boring, like gold's all right. It's just going to stay kind of in a range. So
yeah. Well, the most notable thing in gold is that from 2011 until now, you're just accumulating. And as you said, you're seeing Russian banks. I remember seeing Chinese banks like 3 years ago heavily accumulating gold. Obviously, that's part of the reason we had this massive, massive run up. But this isn't done. People look at gold, they're like, we've already ran in 3 years from 1100 to, all the way up to a peak of 2K, and then now to 1.8K. And they think that it's already too much. No. We haven't even broken out of the 10-year accumulation range. When we do, and if I'll show you in logarithmic scale, that will only be the beginning of the massive gold rush. So yeah, I'm extremely bullish on gold. I can even see it hitting, 4 to 5K in the next 10, 20 years.
yeah, it looks bullish to me. I stack like silver and everything. I do have some gold, but I'm mostly a silver investor, just from history. Silver usually moves more stronger than gold. So
that's true. I can even check silver if you want.
Okay.
I haven't seen it in a long time. We'll just go high time frame. Yeah, so silver, massive. What is this? Holy shit. Apologies for swearing, but this is pretty much a what? 50-year ascending triangle. I rarely see this. And the funny thing is, people are like, you can't do, people will say you can't really do TM on such a high time frame. No, that's not true. Basically, the higher the time frame, the more reliable it is. And what silver has since 1971 is one massive ascending triangle. And locally, it's hard to tell what's going on. You're just at very strong support. Locally, gold actually looks much better. But eventually, I don't know when, silver will break this ascending triangle and will also go on its crazy run. The world's resources are just going to become more and more limited and less abundant, and it's inevitable. There is nothing to stop this massive bull run.
Also, all these green energy stuff that's happening all uses silver. So like any of these solar panels and any of the electric cars, they're all using silver. So I mean, just that green energy push that we're seeing, I think is also going to deplete a lot of the supply of silver.
Yeah. I mean, you got silver, you got lithium batteries for Teslas, you have nickel, cobalt, everything to do with electricity. Even gold is very good conductor. So, and the cool thing is, even without the fundamentals, just as a hedge, like we were talking about before, it's very useful. Add the fundamentals to that, and then you're even more bullish. So it's much better to hold in cash. It's just obvious.
Yeah. And I just I like just knowing that I hold it, right? It's not in the control of my bank. They're not going to ask me to fill out forms if I decide to withdraw a certain amount. You know, it's in my control, and I never have to worry about anything else. No counterparty risk. So was there anything?
Yeah, go on.
Was there anything that we didn't go over that you think we should go over?
But I think we covered most important things. The most important thing is pretty much, are we going to continue or have we topped? Right? I mean, even if you're focusing on XRP, you want to know if the crypto market, or at least if the global market, such as the SPX, if that's high risk or close to topping. And basically what you should take away from this is that Bitcoin and Total 2, so the altcoin market, and Total, which is the whole crypto market, basically has just been reaccumulating for months. People are way more fearful than they should be. The technical analysis, the on-chain data, and the smart money is continuously buying in these ranges. The fact that the theory that we double topped, or that we're not going back above 69K for years, is extremely unlikely. The theory that we will go back above all-time high and continue this run, especially an alt run, that's much more likely. So what you should take away from this is, if you're in crypto, relax, it's okay. Everything is showing bullish signs on the long term. If you sold, it was mostly an irrational emotional decision. And if you are a traditional person, gold is very, very bullish as well. So that's just the overall market take for me.
Yeah, everyone says don't say that this time is different, but I'm seeing a lot of things to make this time different. You know, it's there's a lot of fundamental reasons why this time's different. Even the charts, right? We've had a year of accumulation above 40,000, right? Above 30,000. It's been almost a year of being in this price range. That's never happened before. Bitcoin hasn't been stuck in a range for a year. So, you know, for somebody to say this time isn't different doesn't make any sense to me. So,
well, this is actually, this is something I want to mention. Two things. Basically, Bitcoin, it was insane. I remember doing an analysis for this for a company, and also live streaming pretty much all the way from October 2020, when I was extremely bullish, until the sideways action of April, and then eventually the May crash. And we were all saying, especially I was telling them, that this run from 9K to 50 to 64K, it was so insane no one, even the smart whales friend that I know, they didn't even account for this happening. So much capital entered very, very quickly, unlike previous runs, that this sideways action, we always expected it. And the problem is people who didn't expect it, people who came in late, or people who are just new to trading and crypto in general, they just see this as a fearful sign. They just see it, why are we going sideways for like, 6 months? It's insane for their point of view. But I keep iterating that this run, at least capital injection wise, since 2020 was so parabolic and big that we have to do this big consolidation to continue another healthy run. And this time is different. I'm sorry to break it to you guys, but if you were here in 2017, you know how much the institutional sentiment has changed. It's insane that now you're getting banks, you're getting congressmen, congresswomen, you're getting big politicians who are finally starting to know, and at least to even say that the Bitcoin and crypto, and at least blockchain as a technology, is something that the West at least has to harbor and has to look towards powering the economy, or at least including in the economy. So yes, there is a lot more confidence when it comes from politicians, when it comes from institutions, and when it just comes from billionaires as well. There's a lot more confidence than there ever was. So alongside the technical analysis and alongside that, those new avenues of capital, it's very likely that we continue a much bigger run from here on.
Yeah, I agree. If anyone wants to follow you and find your channel, how do we follow you and find your channel?
So we'll have it in the description, but ELD Trades, ELD Trades is my name on YouTube. Same thing, ELD Trades is my handle on Twitter. Basically on YouTube, I stream live where I teach trading, and I also have a daily market update. On Twitter, I even give some of my personal trades out for free. So if you want to learn trading, if you want to have some free calls, entries, exits, whatever, and maybe if you want to even join my Discord, you'll find a link in the description. And if you, ELD Trades is what you can look up. And yeah, love to have you on.
Yeah, so anyone that's watching this, I started following ELD Trades a few months ago, and he's really helped me a lot. Of going to his Discord, post charts, ask him for feedback, and then when he's doing his live streams, he just comment in the chat. I like to grab his attention, so I just send him a small tip, and I usually get to cut the line in front of everyone. So, if you're interested, check him out, and he's willing to teach for free, and I don't really see that anymore on Twitter. So it's a nice thing that he's doing. So thanks for coming on. I appreciate our chat.
Thank you very much for having me, mate. And I would just like to add that I don't know if I'll be doing it for free much longer. So get in while you can.